Tears fell while flowers and candles were placed outside of the house on Chilai Avenue.
Everybody knew him. Everybody loved him. His family loved him. And you can't even grasp it. Even though we know it's real, can't even grasp it. It's just so unreal.
Family members say 24-year-old Michael Nelson was one of the 3 victims found inside a second-floor apartment.
It hurt real bad. It broke my heart.
With few details from police, May Washington says she's trying to piece together information to figure out why her cousin was at this home.
Nobody really knows nothing. Everything is so confusing. We just know that they were found in his house dead, him and the 2 young ladies.
The 2 other victims, Jermella and Jacqueline Simmons, were cousins. Both young mothers lived at the apartment together. The relationship between the 2 women and Nelson is unclear.
It hurt. It hurt all of us. It hurt. We just talked.
Washington says she was with her cousin Saturday night and spent the next 2 days trying to get a hold of him.
Not knowing my cousin is laying here lifeless, dead, with a bullet in him. They just left him there.
Well, what they were supposed to carry?
Then you got not just him, you got 2 mothers. Took them away from their children. You gunned them down for what?
Because they were home.
Wait for answers. Washington says she wants justice.
Get them off the street. Because if they could easily kill these 3 like this, they'll do it to anybody.
No one is in custody, and police haven't released any information on suspects or a motive. The Simmons family plans to hold a vigil on Chilai Avenue tomorrow to remember Jermella and Jacqueline. By then, both families hope that they will know more.
I'm looking for someone to find who did this. You gunned these 3 down for what? What you gained out of it?
Frustration and grief tonight. Relatives of 3 people shot to death in Rochester yesterday say they feel kept in the dark. Families of the victims say they know as much tonight as they did shortly after their loved ones were found dead yesterday morning. Good evening, I'm Jenny Ryan.
And I'm Don Elhart. Well, tonight we heard from relatives of Michael Nelson who tell us he was the 3rd victim in that shooting. As 13 Lab's Rachel Blazer tells us that the family says not knowing how this happened is only adding to their grief. Rachel?
Don, police and the medical examiner haven't released the identity of the 3 victims, but the Simmons and Nelson family say their fears have really already been confirmed, and now they just want to know who did this and why. Tears fell while flowers and candles were placed outside of the house on Chilai Avenue.
Everybody knew him. Everybody loved him. His family loved him. And you can't even grasp it. Even though we know it's real, can't even grasp it. It's just so unreal.
Family members say 24-year-old Michael Nelson was one of the 3 victims found inside a second-floor apartment.
It hurt real bad. It broke my heart.
With few details from police, May Washington says she's trying to piece together information to figure out why her cousin was at this home.
Nobody really knows nothing. Everything is so confusing. We just know that they were found in his house dead, him and the 2 young ladies.
The 2 other victims, Jermella and Jacqueline Simmons, were cousins. Both young mothers lived at the apartment together. The relationship between the 2 women and Nelson is unclear.
It hurt. It hurt all of us. It hurt. We just talked to him.
Washington says she was with her cousin Saturday night and spent the next 2 days trying to get a hold of him.
Not knowing my cousin is laying here lifeless, dead, with a bullet in him. They just left him there. He didn't deserve none of it. And you got not just him, you got 2 mothers. Took them away from their children. You gunned them down for what?
As the families wait for answers, Washington says she wants justice.
Get them off the street. Because if they could easily kill these 3 like this, they'll do it to anybody.
No one is in custody, and police haven't released any information on suspects or a motive. The Simmons family plans to hold a vigil on Chilai Avenue tomorrow to remember Jermella and Jacqueline. By then, both families hope to know more. In the newsroom.
All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Baal Shem Yahawashi. Double honors to the elders of GMS for showing me this great truth. And shalom and salutations to my brothers on the 4 corners pumping out this truth with sincerity, long-suffering, and longevity. We're going to get on to the second part, which is, I'm going to find it in 2nd Ezra 6 and 18. This is the second part of what happened to the gentleman, the young brother that just passed away, him and the two women that passed away in the house. All right, this is Yahweh's doing, and I'm going to prove it. All right, this is 2nd Ezra, chapter 6, verse 18. And it said, Behold, the days come that I will begin to draw nigh and to visit them that dwell upon the earth, and will begin to make inquisition of them, what they be that have hurt unjustly with their unrighteousness, and when the affliction of Sion shall be fulfilled, and when the world that shall begin to vanish away shall be finished, then will I show these tokens. The books shall be opened before the firmament, and they shall see altogether. And the children of a year old shall speak with their voices. The women with child shall bring forth untimely children of 3 or 4 months old, and they shall live and be raised up. And suddenly shall the sound places appear unsound, the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. And the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man heareth, they shall be suddenly afraid. At that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountains shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. Whosoever remaineth from all these that I have told thee shall escape and see my salvation and the end of your world. All right. We're going to go to Ezekiel chapter 43, verse 7. And he said unto me, Son of man, place my throne in the place of the soles of my feet, where I dwell in the midst of the children of Israel forever. So where does the Most High dwell at? In the midst of the children of Israel, not in your buildings. And my holy name, which is Yahweh, Ba'asham Yahawashi, shall the house of Israel no more defile. And how did the house of Israel defile the name? Because the house of Israel started calling him what everybody else started calling him, Jesus and Jehovah. That's defiling, that's profaning his name. Neither they nor their kings by their whoredom, nor by their carcasses their kings in their high places. All right, we're going to go to jump to Isaiah chapter 13, verse 12. I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than a golden wedge of Ophir. So, why is the men of Israel dying off? Because that's the Most High's doing. All right, the Most High kills and makes alive. If you read Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 39, you will see that the Most High kills everybody. All right, but He's giving you guys the power to kill also. But without His say-so, you can't kill nobody. Satan has to go to the Most High, just like we got to go to the Most High. That's why it states that the sons of the Most High went to appear themselves before Him, and Satan came along with them. But how did Satan come along? Because Satan was in the embodiment of one of those brothers. And he has to come, right? He has to. He don't have a choice in the matter. All right? I'm going to go to Isaiah, is this 19? Yeah, Isaiah 19 and 2. And I would set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. These Egyptians right now is not talking about the actual Egyptians, but we can't put them for the actual Egyptians, but they're actually talking about the people that's in the mindset of Egypt now, like Brother Polite. And they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. All right? City against city and kingdom against kingdom, which means your best friend is going to kill you if you don't come back home to Yahweh Ba'asham Yahawashi. All right? So like I said, I give my condolences to the brother and the sisters that lost their lives, but y'all got to come back home. Now that should give you a more incentive to come home, but it's not. You guys are going to go right back to your slave masters thinking that they're going to help you, and they never helped you. They didn't help you in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They ain't going to help you now, man. The Most High said, I'm going to send you to your enemies. All right? The so-called white man is your enemy. He is not your friend. He is your enemy. Now, when I say the so-called white man, I'm not talking about your skin tone. I'm talking about the mentality. All right? because there's Israelites that look white, but they're not. And then there's Edomites that look black, but they're not Israelites, they're actually Edomites. All right, so it's not a color thing, it's a spirit thing. That's why he said there's no difference between a Jew and a Greek, because we're looking for Israel inwardly, and only Israel inwardly is going to do the law, statutes, judgments, commandments, and ordinances of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, which is 613 to the best of their abilities. All right, Shalom Mayakaahla. We're just going to prove that when he talks about Egypt, he's not actually talking about the land, and he's not actually talking about the Egyptians that's not even in Egypt now, okay? But we're going to go to Exodus 13:3. And Moses said unto the people, remember this day in which ye came out from Egypt. Now that's actually talking about Egypt, out of the house of bondage. For by strength of hand, the Lord, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, brought you out from this place. There shall no leavened bread be eaten. Now, why isn't there no leavened bread to be eaten? Because leaven takes yeast, and it takes a while for that yeast to rise. But if you don't have no yeast in your bread, you could bake it a lot faster. And we had to leave in a haste. That's why. And that's part of the Passover. That's why we don't eat no unleavened bread. We have unleavened bread for the Passover. All right? It's to remind you. It's to get you back into the spirit of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. Exodus 13:4. And it shall be when thy son asks thee in time to come, saying, what is this? That thou shalt say unto him, by strength of hand the Lord, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, brought us out from Egypt, from the house of bondage. Exodus 20:2. I am Yahweh thy power, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Deuteronomy 5:6. I am the Lord thy power, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage. Alright? So anytime he says, when he talked about, and I will send you to Egypt again by ships by the way whereof, well, we didn't go back into the land of Egypt. But then when you look at your dollar, look at the back of your dollar, you got a pyramid, right? Because that's to let you know that this is Egypt. It has the eagle, right? Because that's still Rome and Greece. And now they have this new thing called Chrislam, when they're putting Christianity and Islam together. That's just setting everybody up for the mark. Alright? So when he talks about the Egypt, he's not actually talking about the land at times. A lot of the times he's talking about America, which is the house of bondage. Alright? You Negroes been slaves here, and you're still a slave. If you look at your ID card, alright, you look at your ID card, your name is all in capitals. If you wasn't a slave, it should be a capital and then lowercase. But it's all in capitals because you're a corporation. All right. When you go into the jail system, they assign you a number, right? You're no longer that name; you're that number. It's the same thing when you get out of the jail system. They assign you a number. You got a number for your ID card that they go by. They don't go by your name; they go by that number. And they got a number for your Social Security. So you're a slave. All right? Shalom.